Alright guys, welcome back to another video here. This is ZYUH, artist, musician, and wannabe actor. Um, I'm gonna see if that works. I don't like that. I'm gonna do it this way. I was just checking if the audio, like if I want to hear myself. We are doing what episode are we on? We're on episode 6. It took me a while to figure out where this was. It was like if I could show you how my desk looks like, it's a total mess, but it's like an organized mess. But I couldn't find it. It took me like literally like 10 minutes to look for this episode. So we're on episode 6 here. This is Money Can Buy You Happiness, but dot dot dot. We are going to be inserting this between obviously episode 5 and 7. We have gone through episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So we're here at number 6, episode 6. You can find episode 7 and 8 afterwards. And that's about it. After this, we're going to jump into episode 9. I can tell you what episode that is when we're done with this video here. So I didn't do a video last week because I was just drained from the weekend. And I've just had for the past like week and a half, I've had like a pretty like roller coaster kind of life. You know what I mean? Like I pretty I'm very into my routine. I'm very structured. I'm very wake up at a certain time. Go to bed at a certain time. So when you start meeting new people and things like that, sometimes you have to make sacrifices and things like that. Um, but things happen, and so you kind of just roll with the punches and everything. But we're back in action on normal time, Monday night, 7 o'clock. I'm a little late, 7:27, but we're here. We're here, and we're gonna go into this philosophy episode. As you can see, as soon as I start talking, my cat likes to just prop herself up like a little baby that she is. And you know what? Right now, I'm fine with it. I like it. She's just doing amazing right now. Um, so, we're going into episode 6 here. Money can buy you happiness, but dot dot dot. Now, before I start speaking about this episode particularly, I want to get a few things off my chest here. And that's life can be demanding. Life can be so demanding that it turns you into somebody that you're not. What I'm saying is that sometimes life puts you in a position, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? So we're not saying that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. What I'm saying is that sometimes life is so demanding that it shows you the potential that you have within yourself, meaning you're showing new colors, new skill sets, new talents. You're discovering yourself in a different light. And that, I think, is a beautiful thing in the sense that, gosh, this is how I was about 2 weeks ago. How did I get here? Why am I here? And how am I able to do this so fluently? Now, sometimes we catch ourselves in positions that we didn't ask for, and sometimes we get upset about that, whether that be a new job, a new relationship, um, a new animal in your life, a new pet in your life, a new child in your life, a new family in your life, whatever it may be. Sometimes you don't ask for the things that come into your life, but when you accept them and when you're in a more tolerable mode, as opposed to a criticism, you're criticizing it, you're judging it, you're playing God essentially. You're saying, no, this is how I want it to be. We can't live like that. We can't live in a way that we feel we're the ruler, or we're the one making the rules, or this is my life and this is how it should go. We need to learn how to let go. We need to learn how to let things go and accept them for how they are, for what they are, and how does this transform your being? How does this situation, whatever it may be, make you understand the reality that your life is not in your hands? And so this goes in par to what we're talking about today, where we're going to be talking about money. Money sometimes comes into our lives, Sometimes it leaves our lives, right? Sometimes it puts us in a position where it changes us, right? Or the opposite, where we don't make enough money, so we act a different way, right? In order to gain money, in order to gain the finances, in order to gain the wealth. What is it about your life that you're doing right now that's on the same level of either making money or being tolerable of how much money people are making that are either close in your family or just strangers, or you're in that comparison mode? You're saying things like, look at this one. You're saying things like, well, how can I make that much money, right? How am I able to be in their shoes or get in their shoes? How is it that they have all of that and I just have this, right? With money, in particular, we're talking about money here, the physicality, the physicalness of having the money in your hand, seeing it go as you spend it is what I'm talking about. Of course, we're living now in a day and age where a lot of things are electronic, right? It's backed up by just numbers that you see on your phone or on your computer, and you don't really actually feel the money, you know. Me being a server, me being a bartender, I've got cash in my wallet all the time. So I know what it feels like to make good money and then spend it that very same night. And you see how fast money comes into your life and you see how fast it goes. So we need to learn how to be, obviously, smart with our money, but we also need to learn how to have fun at the same time, because money shouldn't control our behavior. Money shouldn't be this object or this theme in our life where it dictates our behavior or how we act. It should be separate from us. It shouldn't be a part of us. And as you have seen, if you haven't seen already in some of my older videos, you know that I'm a believer of the Christian God. I believe that the world is not enough for us as human beings, and that we are meant for more, and that we live in a broken world. And money is part of that broken world. And no amount of money that you make, for me personally, will ever bring me absolute joy. I don't depend my joy, my happiness does not depend on the things that I have. Rather, it's enlightened and it's infused with faith, with hope and belief, and that's what sets me on fire. That's what puts me separate from the world, is that I don't depend on what the world offers me. Rather, I live on what I can offer the world. And sometimes people notice it, sometimes people don't. But we shouldn't live our lives waking up every day saying, how much money should I be making? We should be waking up every morning and saying, how much service can I be doing for others? Don't even think about the dollar. Don't even think about the cent. Don't even think about what you're getting in return. But be rich in your memories and in your compassionate relationships. When you're around people who think like you, put yourself in a position where you're doing and you're providing a service for other people. And when you put yourself in the community like that, you start seeing that money isn't what brings true joy in your life. Instead, it's what you can do for others. So I'm talking about money, right? And I'm talking about happiness, and I'm talking about joy, and I'm talking about how do we respect ourselves in a way where we don't depend on this outsource. How do we go about our lives in the day-to-day function where we say, you know what, money is just enough for me. Money can only do so much for me. Money can help me get out of certain problems on this world or in this world, certain situations. I'm not saying that it doesn't. If you're going to be part of this world, you got to get a job. If you're going to be a part of this world, you have to provide some kind of service for other people and get some kind of financial benefit out of it, right? If you want to live somewhere, you're going to have to be making money. But what I'm saying is that you can't risk not knowing someone because instead you'd rather, take another shift. What are you doing there when you'd rather work as opposed to somebody saying, you know what, let's get to know each other a little bit more. You know what, my son, my daughter, mother or father, I miss you. I want to see you. Can you spare 6 hours out of your day? Is there any way you can take a day off just to spend some time with me? That there is much more rich than spending those 6 to 12 hours, whatever you need, devoting yourself to your work. You see what I'm saying here is that you've got to weigh it out. If you're pushing 50, if you're pushing 60 and you're almost retired and you've made so much money, at what cost is it that you have lost so much but have gained so much at the same time? We have to put ourselves in a position where we need to learn how to balance our currency that's coming in and how much we're giving out at the same time when it comes to our relationships and our partnerships and our love and devotion for other people. And that, again, is in part with how much service you're doing for other people and how much you're putting yourself out there for other people. Let's try, as good people as we are, to wake up every morning and instead of saying, what can I do for myself? What can I do for other people? Where is it in my life that I can do a little bit better? Can I start saying hi to people? Can I start saying hi to strangers? You've got nothing to lose except an awkward smile or an awkward engagement. But at least you know you're putting out your good foot forward and you're trying your hardest to just be a kind person. If you don't see any nice people, if you don't see any kind people, then be that person. You see what I'm saying? If you go around your neighborhood or your social circle or out in society or you're going to you're going to the grocery store, you're getting gas, you're picking up your kids from school, what have you, and you say to yourself, gosh darn it, there's just like everybody's just so rude. Everybody's just so mean and in such a rush. Be the opposite. Be kind. Be loving. Be gentle. Be peaceful. Be confident. Put yourself in a position where you are different, where you put yourself in a position where not that you know that you're making a difference, but you're shaking things up a bit, just so much that it kind of rocks somebody else's world. You know, if you know you're good at listening, you know, be there for your friends and listen to them. Don't offer advice, tell them what to do. Just hear them out. Because I'll tell you about 90% of people out there just want to be heard. They're not asking for advice. They're not asking for a solution or for you to fix the problem or be a problem solver. They just want to be able to talk out loud and know that somebody's hearing them out. And so how does all of this fit in with the money, right? Money can buy you happiness, but dot dot dot. And I keep saying dot 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 because it is. Money can buy you happiness, but dot dot dot. And so again, we're talking about money. We're talking about happiness. We're talking about being in a joyful state. And if we really think about it, money, like we were talking about, money is just paper. It's just printed paper. And it's funny that all the time, everywhere, things are being printed, but it's what it stands for and what it does. That money, because of its size, because of its relevance, because of its power and its ability, it holds a certain significance. So we ask ourselves, if money is just printed out, why can't everybody just have the same amount of money? Well, there wouldn't be a reason for government. There wouldn't be a reason for an overseer. There wouldn't be a reason for any political power or gain. There wouldn't be a reason to put people in their place. If everybody had the same amount, there wouldn't be any reason for any kind of democracy at all. So you ask yourself, what is it about me that puts me in this position? And what can I do to kind of up my game in a sense? Then you start talking about certain races and ethnicities and social norms and cultural differences and disadvantages and advantages because of your skin color, because of where you grew up, social economics, all sorts of things, all different kind of dynamics. And so the individual is kind of put in a position where they either need to accept where they are, accept their reality. Of course, you have those rarities where they kind of get themselves out of a not so, great, not what I'm trying to say is that they kind of get themselves out of the rut in a sense. And that's not for everyone, and that's not going to happen for everybody. The reality is that where you are is where you're probably going to end up staying. And again, it's the acceptance and the tolerance that you need to put out and learning how to let go of certain things that you don't have control over. For example, if you tell your child that, you know what, one day you're going to be an astronaut, one day you're going to be a doctor, one day you're going to be this, or one day you're going to be that. And it's like you look around in that community, it's like how many people are actually astronauts, or how many people are actually ball stars, like playing football or playing basketball. How many of them are actually musicians, or how many of them are actually, the reality is that we're lying to our kids. And I feel like that's not a very good parenting style. We should, for me personally, I would tell my child that, like, hey, that's a great dream to have, and maybe one day you'll have it. But the thing is that you're going to have to work really hard and a lot harder than most people because you're not in that community. If you want to be an actor, but you don't even live next to, Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles or anywhere, where they're actually making movies, there's a pretty good chance that you're never actually going to make it. So how can we make that a reality? You got to change either your community, you got to change the way you live, you got to move, you got to make choices, you got to make that a reality. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I don't think it's a very good method to bring up your children saying that they can be whatever they want to be. Because I work with children and they can say and they can want to believe in the most unreachable places their imagination can take them. And I don't think it's a very healthy practice where we're getting off topic here. I'm getting off topic. We just went through this. Why can't everybody, make the same amount of money? Well, it's because of economics. It's because of the whole social structure of how do we keep people in place and how do we have control over people. So we go into inflation. We go into basically what's happening now with everything that's going up, and not a lot of people, are making enough money to actually make ends meet. And so that's another way to control the people, is that like, hey, if we made everybody, have the same amount of money, coming out of the, on their paychecks, they're all making this amount of money, and then we keep all the price goods the same, nothing will grow, nothing will flourish, nothing will be challenged, nothing will be more than what it is. And so that's what, in a weird way, that's what society needs. It's a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a way of thinking of like, hey, I can't afford this, but how can I afford this? And that goes again in part with, well, how do I make more money? How do I get myself out of this position? How do I get myself out of the projects or the ghetto? How do I get myself in a position where I'm actually okay with my life and the finances that I'm making? And so a lot of us go to alternative resources, right? We go to government assistance. We go to hand-me-downs or handouts or things like that, or things that, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Handicap situation. How can we feed off the teat in a sense? And so that there is not, kind of like when COVID happened, right? And a lot of people were depending on the government. There came a point in a lot of people's lives where they said, you know what, I almost feel guilty receiving this money because I didn't earn it. I didn't wake up in the morning, I didn't do my 9 to 5, I didn't put in my hours, I didn't work, but I'm getting paid at the same time. That any normal person after 3 to 4 months, I would say, of going through that routine would feel a bit empty in a sense, or guilty, like we say, where it's like I don't deserve this, or I didn't earn this. And that should tell you a lot about what it means to actually go out and provide a service of some kind and be compensated for that, right? And to be heard, right? Like we say, we obviously live in a democracy where when we put in good work, we're heard, right? And we're paid for it. And they say, you know what? I hear you. I see you. This is for you. We thank you. And that there is a partnership between the independent person trying to make a buck and Uncle Sam, right? And they're saying, if you do this, then we will give you this. And it's a partnership and it's a relationship. And there's only so much the individual can do, right? Tomorrow's election day, right? Tomorrow it's the big day. And there's only so much us little people can do and say that will actually affect change. And it's out of our hands essentially. And there's a lot of other people where their vote counts a little bit more than our vote. And I'm not saying don't vote, right? Go out there and vote, but just know that at the end of the day, it will affect people, but in different ways. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to get too much into the politics and all of that. So I just went through this right here. I'm kind of just going through the notes, and it says the more service you provide, the more you receive. And so again, are we waking up in the morning and saying, what can I do for other people? And that sometimes means going out there and getting a second job, right? If you want to afford that house, if you want to afford that car, if you want to afford the phone or the bags or the TV, or whatever it may be, sometimes you need to provide more service. Sometimes you need to work harder and longer. But at the end of the day, these are just material things. And again, when we depend on these material things that could either break, not function, They can lose their meaning after we buy them. Let's say you've had your eye on this certain TV for a while and you buy it, and it's all good and dandy for about 2 to 6 months, but after that you're just like, this is just not hitting home for me anymore. I need a better TV. So we go into this thing called buyer's remorse, where you feel like you need to just keep on buying, keep on buying, keep on buying. And we get into this cycle of every year, Black Friday, what can I get? What are the deals? How can I feed this emptiness that I have for myself? Um, for example, again, you're going out and you want this certain type of phone or phone case or whatever you want. And again, after 6 months, we say, this isn't doing it for me anymore. I need the latest edition. I need the upgrade. I need what's new. And so sometimes we can put ourselves in a position where we're in that cycle over and over again, and we never get out of it. And then you're in debt. And when you're in debt, it's hard to get out of debt. And so a lot of the times we need to tell ourselves that we should just depend on what we actually make, as opposed to what we don't make, but we have at the same time, with our credit cards. And so when we depend on this, there's a lot of notes here. I don't want to go through them and read them. Jeez Louise, I write a lot. Oh, okay, so let me just go back for a little bit. I'm just like flipping through these pages, and there's like a lot of writing in here. So we talked about this. As the population grows, everything else has to grow with it. And when your city grows, the inflation goes up. And when the inflation goes up, usually the income stays put. And again, you have to, if you want to be a part of the big city, you have to maybe get a second or third job. As the city grows bigger and bigger and bigger, your paycheck stays the same. So what are you going to do to make more money so you can live in the big city? So sometimes it either puts you in a position where you have to make more money to stay in the city. That was once a town, but now it's a city, and now it's getting a bigger city, and now it's being more, attracted from other people, and it's got more buildings and schools and businesses and things like that. And all of a sudden, either you're pushed out or you're left in a position where you have to make more money. And again, that's either taking up a second job or depending on other people. And them depending on you too. So it's like a give and take situation. And then we just got done talking about buyer's remorse. So when we say about like money, when we have more money on our hands, when we start making more money, then our desires and our wants and our needs increase, right? We start saying, well, now I can afford this and now I can afford that. And we do achieve some kind of happiness there. We do achieve some kind of contentness in saying, you know what, now I'm happy. Now I'm content because I can afford this house, because I can afford this car, because I can afford this, these types of clothes or this kind of, lifestyle. I am happy. And I'm not saying you can't be happy with money, right? Money will make you happy. So the question here is, does money really buy happiness, right? And some of us will say yes, money does buy us happiness, and other people say no, money does not buy you happiness, because I know what happiness is. I know what it is to be in a joyful state, and I'll tell you this: I didn't have to, spend a single dime for it, And then we go into statistics saying, according to Princeton University, happiness and income are correlated, but only at 75,000. On average, the American does not make this. So we're talking about 75,000 a year. on average, the average American, I want to say, makes between 30 and 50,000 a year, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, because a lot of us just make between 30 and 40, I think. So if we're talking about this statistic here, 75,000 is not on everybody's radar. And they're saying that you need to be making at least 75,000 a year to at least achieve some sort of happiness. And if this doesn't scare you, it's like, do I really need to be making that much money in order to be happy? And again, a lot of us would say, yes, you do need to be making that much money, and then you will be happy. And others saying, I don't have to make any type of money, and I'm still happy. And obviously people who make less than 75,000, I'm not saying people who do make 75,000 don't have to worry about rent and bills and things like that, but the people who make less than this are worried about rent and bills. And that puts them in a strenuous, kind of situation, a very stressful situation. And so, we're saying, but as wealth increases, our happiness remains the same, or actually tends to decrease. So when we start making more money, there comes a point in our life where, again, that buyer's remorse kicks in and says, I keep buying these things, or I keep spending this money, but I'm still empty inside. I still feel like I'm not receiving enough, even though I'm spending so much money. So we get used to our new wealth, and it becomes our normal, right? It becomes our norm. Yet people will still have more money than you. Whether that's money or happiness, we will always see someone we think is living a better lifestyle than us, and this is resulting in us constantly comparing ourselves. So it's never going to end, no matter how much money you make, you're always going to be looking out the window and saying, you know what, the grass is greener on the other side. I just know it. How do I get there? And that's the kicker. I feel like that's the conundrum, that's the paradox there. That's what's inevitable in a sense, is that no matter how much money you're going to be making, you can't put yourself in a position and say, you know what, how much more money can I be making? More than them, more than her, more than him. Because if I'm making more than them, I know I will be happy. So you need to either nip it in the bud or realize that money can bring happiness, but, right, it can only bring you so much happiness in your life. And so that's why we can't depend on our happiness when it comes to money, when it comes to finances, when it comes to what we receive when we provide a service for others. So again, when we wake up in the morning, are we saying these words? What can I do for other people? What can I do to provide a service? What can I do, to make somebody's life a bit easier? Can they relate to me? Can I relate to them? Can I stop and pause and hand out some change? Have a conversation with a stranger? Actually listen to them. Don't provide advice. Don't provide a problem. Don't provide where you solve their problem. Just listen to them. Just hear them out. Just say, I see you. I acknowledge you. I'm here for you. And I wish you the best. If they're asking for help, try your darnest to help them out. But are we asking ourselves that in the morning? Or are we saying, you know what, today's just another day where I provide some kind of service and I will get some money from it, and that'll make me happy? There's all sorts of different ways of waking up, but I truly do believe one of the best ways to wake up is saying, I am here, I am healthy, I'm wanting to be helpful, and I want to be there for other people. I'm here, I'm now, I'm healthy, and I want to be there for other people. So sometimes there comes a point in parents' lives where their children grow up spoiled, right? They grow up in a way where they get everything they want or desire. And that puts themselves in a very selfish position. And they don't know what it's like to provide a service for other people. Then they join the workforce. More often than not, they start creating problems. They start creating some kind of difficulties for their coworkers or colleagues. And they just don't know what it's like, or they don't know how to share or communicate or to hear people out. And they only worry about themselves. And so, why am I telling you this? Because money can easily influence our position of power. And so when somebody becomes a person of power, but they grew up very spoiled, it dictates the influence and the power that they have. And it's showcased in the way they speak to other people, and the way people actually genuinely find that attractive and they gravitate towards those people. And we're talking about all sorts of, influencers when it comes to artists, politicians, presidents, teachers, anybody with some kind of status or some kind of position where they hold some kind of power. It really just depends on their upbringing and their home and their lifestyle, their themes they grew up on, the morals, and the certain lifestyle that they grew up on. And so when money comes into their hands, again, it shows their true colors. And so we have to be careful with who we associate with and who we listen to and who we follow and who we look up to, essentially. And we have to realize that money, again, can only bring us so much happiness at the end. And so what causes a lot of misery for most of us is where we live and our upbringing and our lifestyle and who brings us up, essentially. And so sometimes we think that the grass, again, is greener on the other side, and sometimes that's true. But in this example here, it'll tell you that where you're at is sometimes the best bet for you because it's being tolerable and non-judgmental and accepting your reality that makes the best of who you are at the end of the day. And we can't just keep chasing that dream, that false reality. For example, if you live in a big city, right? You live in a big city and you say, you know what? I don't like it here anymore. It's going to be better if I live out in the farm. So then you move out to the farm and you're there for a couple of years and you say, you know what? I don't like the farm anymore. I thought I would like it, but I don't like it. I need to move somewhere else. So you start moving to the beach area. You're closer to the water. And you say, you know what? I don't like the beach. I miss the farm life. Or you know what? I even miss the city life. So then you decide, you know what? I am going to live in the suburbs. I need a neighborhood. I need a community. So then you go to the suburbs and you say, you know what? It's too quiet here. I miss the trains. I miss the ocean. I miss the farm animals. So then you say, you know what? I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to an island, right? And then you move to an island and you say, you know what? I don't like the island. I need to go back to the city. So it's a never-ending cycle for a lot of us. If we put ourselves in a position where we're not okay with where we live and we feel like we're going to be better off elsewhere, or we're going to be better off, making so much money, it's never going to stop. So it's better to accept your reality. And I'm not saying be stuck there. I'm not saying don't ever move, but try not to get yourself, or try not to put yourself in a position where you're constantly in that move, you're constantly flowing, or you're constantly, going from one place to the other, and you're not actually really accepting the difficulties as part of life. And that is part of life. It's almost like we say, the spoiled person who's working in the workforce, making everybody's life difficult because they don't know how to communicate, because they don't like the way things go, or they're not just flowing, they're not fluent with how they operate, so they're not accepting, and so they're judgmental, and they criticize, and they point fingers, and they say, you know what, you should be acting like this, and you, as opposed to saying, you know what, this is my reality, this is what's happening, and I accept this, and life will go on. And you become more resilient that way. You become more accepting of other people's difficulties, and you're able to just ignore a lot of things, and at the same time you learn how to let go. And that brings us back to the beginning, learning to let go of a lot of things that you don't have control over, and accepting your life and life's difficulties that enter your realm of reality. And you start saying, you know what? I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this situation. I didn't ask for any of this, but I'm going to accept it. I'm going to let it go. And it's part of my life now. And I can make it better, or I can make it worse. And so we don't want to complain about it. It's just like in the old video, the last video, I said, if you're going to complain about something, you better have a damn good solution. Otherwise, there's no point in complaining. If you're going to complain about a certain part of your lifestyle, then have a plan B. Well, if you're complaining about it, how are you going to make it better? Don't complain just to complain, because nobody is going to want to be around that, or want to be around that. And you yourself are not going to want to hear that. That'll just get you even more angrier and more upset. And you start carrying this energy of kicking rocks, essentially. And we don't want to be in that position. We want to put ourselves in a position where we accept our difficulties. We accept the difficult life that whatever life or destiny brings upon us, and we say, you know what? Bring it on. Bring on the challenges. I can do it. I'm able. I'm capable. I'm confident. I'm at peace. And I'm able to transform because of these things that are happening in my life. And so that brings on to experiences, right? When we start accepting the difficult parts of our lifestyle, and we start putting ourselves in a position where we put 2 feet in, and we say, you know what? Let me experience this for the next how many years it needs to take. It needs to take out of my life, or it's not even that it's taking out of your life, it's part of your life. So that's just what it is. That's the reality of it. And so that there, whether it be a bad thing that you think is a bad thing or a good thing, it's all an experience. It's just your perspective and the way that you look about it, that you're dictating it, and you're saying, you know what, going to the beach, I can either say that's a bad thing or a good thing. And for a lot of other people, they can either say, oh, going to the beach, I hate it, but it doesn't take away the fact that it's an experience. And so when we have more experiences, as opposed to having material things or materialistic things around our house, we become more joyous. So we want to concentrate on how to live our life in a way where it's like, you know what, I have $200 to $400 to spend. Am I going to spend that on an experience, or, a new TV? You know what I mean? Like, the new TV is only going to last you maybe a couple of months, but that experience it's cycled through your memory until you die, and then even afterwards. So I find that to be much more rich than the new TV, the new car, the new phone, or what have you, or the new watch, or whatever it may be. And so experiences, again, are one of those things that, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, it all comes down to um, the way you look at it. So let's try to have more experiences in our life and try to be happy about it. Be happy about the fact that you can have those experiences, as opposed to how much stuff that you have in your house or outside of your house. Um, so we don't compare experiences the way that we compare materialistic things. Um, when you're talking about experiences with other people, more often than not, hopefully they don't say things like, "Oh, you went to so and so, or you went to this country, or you went to this, part of the world. That's awesome. That's great. I'm happy for you." Um, but when we talk about, "Oh, check out this new thing that I have," or "check out this new thing," materialistic wise, people usually go, "Well, that's cool and all, but check out what I have." We don't really compare experiences and say, "Oh, you went to that continent or you went to that side of the world. Well, I went over here." Unless they're like an asshole or something, or they're just trying to one up you or whatever. But having those experiences puts us in a position where we can transform our being. We can, because it touches on all senses, as opposed to having a new watch or a new car or any of that. That social status, that materialistic thing can only, again, take us so far. And when we talk about experiences, we talk about, again, the whole sense part. The whole sense is where it touches your sight, your smell, your taste, your hearing, your ability to actually soak in information and everything. The cognitive sense. Um, there's also anticipation when it's written on the calendar. I can't wait until I take that trip. I can't wait. And then once you're there, you're actually living it. Then you're hitting the climax. And then when it's over, you feel good. You feel good that you actually got to experience something like that. But when you're anticipating a gift, or when you're anticipating a certain material object in your life, there's like a little hiccup. It's like, okay, I can't wait until I buy that thing. And then once you buy it, it's like, okay, I bought it. Now what? When you experience a certain situation in your life, it's like, I can't wait until that happens, that trip happens, and then you take that trip, and then when it's over, it's still recycled in your mind, and it still gives you some kind of joyous state of being. The material object doesn't do that. It only does it when you're actually buying it, and that's what we call buyer's remorse, and that's what we call the state of being of wanting to just keep on buying things and buying things, because then that way you're just always at that level of excitement. And that's not healthy. It's like an addiction. It is an addiction. It's like smoking a cigarette. It's like doing drugs. It's like drinking alcohol. It's like doing anything that brings you in like some kind of euphoric way of being. And we need to get away from that. Again, we need to learn how to let go and accept our reality for what it is, and find our joyous moments when it comes to our relationships, our partnerships, our community, when we experience trips, when we do things that recycle in our thoughts, in our memories. And so it's more of an introspective thing instead of an outward thing. And so it's all about perspective. And they just become more memorable. They become a part of your life. And the more that you do them, the more you will treasure them. And the people that you share them with, again, you'll start making you'll start bonding better with your family and friends. And so I'm going to end the video there. We're at the 50-minute mark basically, and that's a study again from another YouTube channel. I forget exactly where it comes from, but it's a philosophy in that we look at material objects, money, happiness, joy, and how we can see that money, again, can bring you happiness. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but it's sort of different type of happiness. And what we're trying to reach is a nirvana state, a nirvana state when it comes to accepting our reality and being okay with the finances that are entering our life. And again, I'm not saying that you can't up that, right? I'm not saying you can't make more money, but at the same time, that money can only bring so much happiness out of you. And where lies true joy is in the experience that you have with other people and with those recycled memories, those recycled feelings. Again, whether they be good or bad, it's an experience and you live through it and it's going to be with you forever. The TV, the material objects that you have around your house, you're not taking that to your grave. The only thing that you take to your grave are your thoughts and your memories. And so the more that we experience in this world, whether that's introspective within your own self or with your partners or your relationships or your friends or your community, the only more joyous you'll become. And so again, I'm going to leave it at that. That's Philosophy Talk 101 with me, ZOZYUH. And I'm going to catch you guys obviously next Monday around this time for another video. And I tried going live on YouTube, but it told me I had to wait like 2 days or an hour or something, a day or two, and I didn't want to do that, so I just recorded a video on my computer, and I'm going to be uploading it within the hour, and hopefully it'll be up before midnight, and it'll be the week's video. Sorry, I thought I saw something like a bug. I hate bugs. I mean, I don't mind them, I just hate them in my house. I don't think anybody likes bugs in their house. Unless you're like the bug guy from Pokemon. Anyways, um, next episode would be episode 9, which is going to be 10 important insights for success. And we're going to be talking about Marcus Aurelius from his meditation book. Number 1 being focus on giving value. Number 2, narrowing your focus. Number 3, set your discipline in stone. Accepting the sacrifices, finding the right scene, ruthlessly protecting your time. Live below your means, keep it simple, do your job, constantly adapt and learn from failure, and live a life centered on principles, not wealth, awards, family, or power. So a lot of what we talked about is in this study as well. So this is going to be episode 9, Marcus Aurelius, How to Be Successful. A Stoicism point of view, 10 important insights for success, by Marcus Aurelius, a student of Stoicism. So that's going to be it for today's video. And this is perfect. I always tell myself, you know what, if you talk more than an hour, you're talking too much. And I love that my videos are just at the hour mark, because I'll tell you this, when I first started this philosophy video, vlogging thing, my videos were at least 2 hours long. And I cannot believe I talk so much. I mean, at the same time, I can believe it because I like to talk. And I can just, the thing is that I know for my videos I tend to repeat a lot of the things that I say. I just say it differently. But I'm going to stop it right there before I keep saying more. Okay, so I'm going to be taking off now. This is ZOZYUH, artist, musician, wannabe actor.